Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of the YouTube world. It is I, Oliver from Rugby League, in my opinion, here today to predict the rest of the 2021 NRL season, which is coming to a close fast. It's been a tough old year, but we've persevered, we've pushed through, we're in the Queensland bubble, and today I will be predicting every game from round 23 until the grand final. I'll be predicting margins as well, and after each round you'll see how the ladder has been impacted. I did this through the NRL website's ladder predictor to make it a hell of a lot easier, and I say let's just jump into it. Hey, we'll jump into round 23. Okay, we're jumping into round 23, but before I start, it is important to note that on the NRL's ladder predictor, you are only able to choose margins multiplied by 4, so 4, 8, so on and so forth. You can pick 1 and 2 as well, but then it goes 4, 8, so on and so forth, so no 6-point margins here, and really that's why until we get to the finals is where I might shake things up a little bit. But we start things off with the Melbourne Storm beating my boys, the Gold Coast Titans, by 38 points. I think this is going to be more a reflection of how good Melbourne are, at least I'm hoping so, and I'm hoping that's how the game against Souths went last week. More a reflection of how good Souths are than how bad the Titans are, at least fingers crossed anyway. The Titans haven't been too bad in recent weeks, but yeah, I've got to go with the Storm here by 38. Manly to beat Canberra by 18. Tom Trbojevic is likely out for the rest of the regular season, although that's not confirmed yet. I've got Manly winning this one, still relatively dominant, but just without Tom Trbojevic, so it won't be as big of a space job, although I'm interested to see if Canberra's forward pack has any real influence in this game, because I believe if the forwards get going, then they could be hard to stop for Manly. The Panthers to beat the Rabbitohs by 1 point. Nathan Cleary, the Prince of Penrith's back. Chinokio, as I like to call him, is back, and he will be the difference maker in this one, but South Sydney are in form as well. It's going to be a great old contest, and I'm just going with Penrith by 1 point here. We move on now to the Sharks beating the West Tigers by 4 points. Both teams realistically out of finals contention now for me. And yeah, it'll be a bit of a scrappy old game, won't it? But I'm tipping the Sharks to take that one. We have the Knights to beat the Bulldogs by 12. Luke Thompson's back this week. He's a bit of a difference maker for the Bulldogs. He's their best player. Newcastle have a decent run home. I'm just worried though that they won't be playing to their best, because we've seen a very inconsistent Newcastle side this season, and especially in the forward pack I've been disappointed with at times. However, I think they get the job done against the Bulldogs here, and they have quite a smooth run home to the finals. The Parramatta Eels to snap their losing streak against the Cowboys and win by 8, and people would be laughing and thinking, what are you talking about? Well, the Cowboys have lost 8 games in a row, so it's pretty much a tale of two clubs who are going straight down to a collision course here, I guess you could say. But yeah, I'm tipping the Eels by 8, so not a space job or anything. We now go on to the Sydney Roosters taking on their traditional rivals, the St George Illawarra Dragons, could say Anzac rivals, although this of course is not the Anzac Day game. I'm tipping a bit of a space job here, the Roosters by 24. Even depleted, they are one of the best teams in the league, and the Dragons quite simply are not. And to wrap things up for round 23, I have the Warriors beating the Broncos by 4 points in a bit of a scrappy game there. I'm very much looking forward to the forward pack battle in this one. So where does that leave us in terms of the ladder after round 23? Well, Melbourne remain in first place, the Panthers in second, the Rabbitohs third, the Roosters fourth, the Seagulls fifth, we have the Eels in sixth, Newcastle in seventh, the Sharks in 8th, the Titans in 9th, the Raiders 10th, the Warriors 11th, the Dragons in 12th, we have the Tigers 13th, the Cowboys 14th, the Broncos 15th, and to round things out, the poor old Bulldogs in 16th. Let's take a look at round 24. Okay, so a big clash to kick us off in round 24. The Gold Coast Titans in sort of a must-win game against the Knights, although this is a bit of a spoiler here, but they could have afforded to lose this game and still made the finals based off of how my predictions in the future have gone for round 25. But yeah, the Titans to beat the Knights by 4. They'll be hungry for a win after a couple of brutal losses, and the Knights might be a bit down on themselves after a bit of an inconsistent performance against the Bulldogs and be downing themselves a little bit there. Got the Warriors to beat the Raiders, still in finals contention at this point, and it is pretty much must win for them. The Rabbitohs to beat the Roosters by 2, a bit of a coming out party I'm predicting for the Roosters in the sense that they're still able to hang with the big boys despite all the injuries they've had this year. So this will be a bit of a statement by them in a way, but South Sydney, the class of that side, just to beat them in the end. The Cowboys to beat the Dragons by 1. I'm tipping a Val Holmes field goal. Both teams pretty insignificant at this point. Could really go either way, but the Cowboys got to snap that losing streak. That would be up to 9 games at this point. The Broncos to beat the Sharks by 4. I'm tipping the Broncos to actually upset a few teams as we head into the finals. Obviously, they're not going to be heading into the finals, but making a statement ahead of 2022. The Storm to beat the Eels by 24. The Eels obviously beat the Storm in an upset earlier this season. I am tipping the Storm to get their revenge this time. Melbourne never forget. And I think they're going to get their revenge here and continue their record-breaking season. I believe, is this the game where they go 19 in a row? I'm not currently sure where they're at, but the record for the most consecutive wins was set by the Roosters in 74-75, I believe, and it was 19 games in a row. So there you go. The Seagulls to beat the Bulldogs by 38 points. A space job without Tommy Turbo. I'm tipping it to happen. Manly is still a class side. Definitely not as good without Turbo, but they're versing a hapless Bulldog side, I'd say. And to finish things off, a Battle of the West, the Panthers to beat the Tigers by 24, getting some revenge. The players will really be starting to come back now for Penrith as they look to hit that second year heading into the finals, which leaves us with a ladder headed up by, you guessed it, the Melbourne Storm, the Panthers in second, the Rabbitohs in third, Seagulls in 4th, Roosters 5th, the Eels 6th, the Knights in 7th, the Titans in 8th, the Warriors 9th, the Sharks 10th, Raiders 11th, we've got the Dragons in 12th, Tigers 13th, Cowboys 14th, Broncos 15th and Bulldogs 16th. Let's head into the final round of the season. Okay, so it's now time for round 25, the final round of the 2021 NRL regular season. The Roosters to beat the Raiders in a grand final rematch, one could say, from 2019. The Roosters, bit of a space job to beat them by 30, sort of really hitting that finals form, and they'll be taking a lot of confidence out of that close game against South Sydney. The Storm to beat the Sharks by 18. I'm tipping Melbourne to rest some troops heading into the finals, but I think they're still good enough to beat the Sharks. Another grand final rematch there from 2016. Up next, we've got a Battle of the West, the Western Sydney Derby, as some like to call it. The Panthers to beat the Eels by 18. A similar story to the Storm. I think Penrith will be resting some players, and although I'm tipping a bit of a bigger scoreline, it won't be, I guess, too dissimilar from that game the two sides played in earlier this season. The Knights to beat the Broncos by 8. Bit of a scrappy affair. Brisbane will be up for it. But yeah, I still think the Knights just get the job done in the end. The Seagulls to beat the Cowboys by 18. Not a space job like against the Bulldogs the week before, but with Tommy Turbo likely out in this one, I think the Seagulls will also rest a couple other troops as well heading into the finals. The Rabbitohs to beat the Dragons by 24. They may also be resting a couple of players heading into this one, the Rabbitohs. However, the Dragons have not been great, and they still have a great attacking roster that could put points on this Dragons side, at least 24 of them. The Titans to beat the Warriors by 4. Now, you'll see when it comes to how the ladder's looking after this round. Now, the Warriors, technically, if they won this game, they could have knocked the Titans out of 8th. However, they would have had to score a crazy amount of points. But I'm tipping the Titans to win this one, to just further cement their spot in the finals, beating the Warriors by 4. And then finally, a battle of the West, an upset to end the regular season, the Bulldogs to beat the Tigers by 4. Let's take a quick look now at how the ladder would be shaping up, as the Melbourne Storm take out the minor premiership, the JJ Gillnet Shield, with 46 points to end the season. In second, the Penrith Panthers. Third, the Rabbitohs. Fourth, the Sea Eagles. Fifth, the Roosters. Sixth, the Eels. Seventh, the Knights. Eighth, the Titans. Ninth, the Warriors. 10th, the Sharks. 11th, the Raiders. 12th, the Dragons. 13th, the Tigers. 14th, the Cowboys. 15th, the Broncos. And in 16th, taking out the dreaded wooden spoon, the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs. This leaves us with the finals week 1 matchup of the first place Melbourne Storm up against the 4th place Manly Warringah Sea Eagles, the 2nd place Penrith Panthers up against the 3rd place South Sydney Rabbitohs, the 5th place Sydney Roosters up against the 8th place Gold Coast Titans, and the 6th place Parramatta Eels up against the 7th place Newcastle Knights. Let's check out who I'm tipping in these games. Okay, so in the 1st versus 4th clash, kicking off the finals, I've got the Storm beating the Sea Eagles by 14 points. Not too dissimilar a game from the game that the two teams actually played in a couple of weeks ago, at least according to my prediction. Melbourne to make a little bit of a statement, but Manly to sort of just be hanging on there and maybe look like a bit of a threat at times. We've got the Roosters beating the Titans by 24, bit of a space job. The Titans, I'll be proud of the boys for making their first final series since 2016, but it's time to build for next year. The Knights to beat the Eels by 10. I'm tipping the Eels to go straight out, and Newcastle to make the second round of the finals for the first time since 2013. And the Panthers to beat the Rabbitohs in a close one by 4 points. It's important to note that Penrith will be back to full strength at this point as well. So in the second round of the finals, that leaves us with a clash between the 4th place Sea Eagles and 5th place Roosters. I'm predicting another really close game, at least until towards the end, where I think finally the Roosters, being an injury-depleted side, will catch up with them. They'll be tired. Manly will have that bit more energy than them, that Tommy Turbo energy, and win by 10 points to go through to their first preliminary final since 2013, where, funnily enough, they'd end up making the grand final and losing to the Roosters. And the Rabbitohs to beat the Knights by 30, not too dissimilar to the finals match that these two played in last year. And the Rabbitohs are a class side, and again, it's not too dissimilar from the Titans, and the Eels, I guess. Thank you for showing up this year, but you're sort of just making up the numbers and build towards next season. Okay, so it's preliminary finals time. The minor premiers, the Melbourne Storm, to beat the 3rd place South Sydney Rabbitohs by 18 points. This would, of course, make it 4 straight seasons that South Sydney have been eliminated in the prelim, unfortunately for them. And again, not a space job or anything, but Melbourne will well and truly be the winners in this one, and it'll be clear to see who the better side is. And the Panthers to beat the Sea Eagles by 4. This is a tough one. Could go either way, but I'm tipping a full-strength Panther side to be able to beat the Sea Eagles, even with Tommy Turbo like they did earlier this season. Okay, so it's time for the 2021 NRL Grand Final. Where will it be played? Who knows, could be played on Mars at this point. We have the Panthers beating the Storm by 1 point. Going a little bold here, Melbourne would obviously be the favourites. I think this has been a 2-horse race for most of the season, with Manly and South Sydney sort of emerging towards the end here as possible contenders, but at the end of the day, I think we're getting a 2020 grand final rematch. And why am I going with Penrith? Well, I am a believer that there is one team who can defeat the Melbourne Storm on grand final day, and that team is a full-strength Panthers side. I am saying that they'll do it, obviously, with this prediction, but they are also the only team, in my opinion, who can do it. And that full-strength Penrith side will have to be at their very best. And, based off of last year's grand final, the heartbreak, everything they've been through this year with injuries and Origin as well, to be at full strength coming into this grand final, it's basically must win for Penrith, more than it is for Melbourne. Melbourne won last year. Melbourne have been the dominant side for years now. They don't need to prove anything. But this Penrith Panthers side, wow, they need to win a premiership to cement themselves as one of the great sides, because, it only means so much having a great regular season for 2 straight years in a row. 2 amazing seasons. This Penrith Panthers side could arguably beat half the premiership winners in the NRL era. This Melbourne Storm side could beat just about all of them. But yeah, it'd be a shame if Penrith don't win a premiership during this run, and I have a feeling if they don't win it here, it's not going to happen. They sort of have to win it here, so I'm tipping Penrith to win by 1 in the 2021 NRL Grand Final. And who else other than the Prince, the Chin, Chinokio, Nathan Cleary, to slot over the deciding 1-pointer. So that is how I'm predicting the rest of the 2021 NRL season to play out. If you disagree with any of the selections I've made at all and want to comment on any in particular, please comment below. And make sure you are subscribed to the Rugby League, in my opinion, YouTube channel, because I've got a lot of content coming out in the coming days and weeks. Hey, I'm locked down here, so it's time to get creative and have a bit of fun. That all kicks off tomorrow with a quiz with Christian Freed, who I've interviewed on the channel before. He is a former USA international, played in 2 World Cups in 2013 and 2017. He is a one-eyed Brisbane Broncos supporter, so I'm going to be quizzing him on his knowledge. I'm looking to make this a regular series as well, interviewing players and fans, quizzing them, I should say, on their knowledge about their clubs. So that's going to be becoming a bit of a series, hopefully, so stay tuned for that. So make sure you are subscribed, and I'll see you again, tomorrow.